WWE's Bash in Berlin. Time to talk about the wrestling. And it's your boy, Icon, with a WWE PLE review for you. Bash in Berlin coming live from Germany. Good show. Just got finished watching it. The pre-show is going on as we speak. Happy Labor Day to everybody, if it's Labor Day by the time you see this. And let's talk about some wrestling. So, no pre-show match again. But I noticed that they are treating the SmackDown, because they're doing the SmackDowns in the country that they're going to do the actual pay-per-view in. I noticed it's like they're almost treating the SmackDown as a 2-hour pre-show, like prior to the actual show. They had LA Knight versus Ludwig Kaiser on SmackDown, which honestly, I thought that should have been on tonight's show. Like, I thought that should have been on the card. They had other matches as well. We didn't get an Intercontinental title match. We didn't get any men's tag team championship matches. We didn't get any women's championship matches either, but it was still a good card, and I definitely enjoyed it. So, and this is solidified now. Every time, because they said that they're doing 6 pay-per-views in America and 6 pay-per-views overseas. That's going to be the formula. Especially 3 of the big 4 pay-per-views. They want to make sure they do those, like in really big places. But I've noticed now that every single time they go overseas, the World Heavyweight Championship main events the show, and every time they have a pay-per-view in the States, the WWE Championship main events the show. That's a nice, cool little tidbit, which means that, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will never be the main event, but c'est la vie. So let's get started and talk about this particular episode of WWE, PLE, and the Bash in Berlin. The pay-per-view kicks off with Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. And although this was a good match, I was a little disappointed that there was no drama involved. I thought it was going to be a thing where the bloodline was going to interfere, and then there's going to be all these shenanigans, and then Roman Reigns was going to show up and everything. But no, I mean, if I'm being honest, I kind of dozed off for a couple of seconds, but it was just a regular. No, it was just a regular match between two people, because everybody was like, "Oh, Kevin Owens is going to turn his back. He's going to betray him," and they did the complete opposite of what they thought everybody was going to do. Like, there was no betrayal, there was no turning of the back by Kevin Owens. It was a straight up wrestling match. Cody Rhodes got the victory, and it's weird because, I don't know what Kevin Owens is going to do now, because he can't fight the bloodline anymore, because him fighting the bloodline is over. Because since Roman Reigns is back, there's no reason for Kevin Owens to still be involved fighting the bloodline. That's why him and, Cody are having the match, because they moved on from that. So now, he's not going to fight LA Knight for the United States Championship. So, is there somebody on the roster where he could just have a regular singles one-on-one feud with? Or maybe he'll take some time off. But, Kevin Owens is pretty much done with it at this point, unless he comes back and ends up, turning on Cody later on to spark, a rematch for the championship. I'm not sure. But, that was it, Cody Rhodes. And, and I'm going to say this, too. I hate the overseas pay-per-views for one reason and one reason only. I hate the stupid crowd chants. That dumb, Bailey, I want to be. I fucking hate that shit. I'm sick of it. And there are just moments where the crowd just, hijacks the show, not to get into the show, but they just hijack it for, dumb stuff. And that's the stuff that kind of irritates me. But overall, these overseas crowds are actually very excited. But like I said, Cody Rhodes, he retained the WWE Championship, and now we're moving on to the next match, which was WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill versus the Unholy Union of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. And I love me Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Those are my girls, 100. Everything sisters, the big 3 with Naomi. I'm down for that. But for the love of God, I love me some Isla Dawn and some Alba Fire. When they come down the ringside, they're always heckling the fans whenever they come down the ringside. And I love that shit about them. It's not so much, obviously their in-ring work is solid, but it's not the in-ring work that I love about them. It's the antics around it. If you, whenever they're in the room with other people, you always got to pay attention to the stuff that, if someone's talking and 2 people are having a conversation and they're not, and Isla Dawn or Alba Fire aren't involved in the conversation, you still end up focusing on them because of what they're doing in the background. And I love that. I love that about them. They're 2 of my favorite, favorites to watch. And I actually thought they were going to retain the belts here, because I figured with Jade and Bianca, they were going to drag this out a little bit more, because they could have squeezed a little bit more life out of it. But instead, because Naomi got the pin over Blair Davenport and the 6 woman, I guess now they just figured it's time to pull the ripcord. And Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill ended up winning the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. So the sisters are back, the Dream Team is back together. And I'm happy to see it, like I said, I'm here for. And it honestly, it does make perfect sense, because we're in a space now where besides Bianca and Jade and the party girls as well, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, the entire women's tag team division is full of heels. So there's the Sonya Deville crew, like there's Damage Control, like, there's still Candice and Indy. Like the entire division is full of heels. So Jade and Bianca are the only faces right now. So it's good that they actually do have the tag team title. So at least then they can fight all these girls and give all these girls something to do. So I'm looking forward to their individual tag team matches with all these different girls. And I do want to see them, main eventing like, house shows, main eventing like television shows, main eventing pay-per-views. But kudos to them. The girls are back on top. And we'll see where this goes and who their first challengers are going to be. Maybe they'll get the rematch with Alba and Alba and Isla. We'll see what happens. But I said I loved Isla and Alba as champions. Like their reign got off to a slow start, but then once they started cooking, like I said, I was into them 100%. So hopefully when Jade finally turns on Bianca, maybe the Unholy Union will get the belts back, and then we can keep that rolling. And then Big E said something crazy like during the pre-show. He said that Isla Dawn and Alba Fire were the only women's tag team to hold both the WWE women's tag team titles and the NXT women's tag team titles. And I'm like, you just shitted on like Katana Chance and Jade and Kaden Carter. Like they did it first. So anyway, that's moving on, and congratulations to Bianca and Jade. The third match was a good old strap match. Get your strap on for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And I knew Punk was going to win the second one because, I swear to God, like their third match, if their third match is Hell in a Cell, that's going to, because like, what's the Bad Blood pay-per-view? The Bad Blood pay-per-view is the next pay-per-view coming up. So it's probably going to be, if they do a Hell in a Cell, these two better main event the show, because they've been doing solid work, throughout, since January, and they've never gotten a chance to actually main event a pay-per-view yet. But, like during the match, there was a thing where you got to, and they actually had lights. Like when you have to touch all four corners, like they never did the lights before. They finally did the lights, so at least people know like who touched what corner or whatever the case may be. And it's just like the typical back and forth where every time one person gets to touches the third corner, he gets interfered on the fourth corner. But then finally, CM Punk, like he hit two corners. Like he hit a GTS and then he hit two corners. Then he was just like, you know what? Every time I try to do this, the son of a bitch keeps getting up. So he's like, let me hit a second GTS, and then he touched the third corner. And then finally, before he touched the fourth corner, he hit a third GTS, and then he took the bracelet off of his wrist, the bracelet that's been full of controversy throughout this entire time. He took the bracelet off him finally, and with the bracelet in his hand, he touched the final corner. CM Punk defeats Drew McIntyre in a strap match, and he actually gets his very first win, televised win in a WWE ring in like over 10 years. So that was actually cool to see. And, like I said, everybody was cheering. The CM Punk chants were running wild. And, I said kudos to him. So now we're just waiting for the third match. And then once we get to the third match, and then the Drew Punk thing is officially over, Seth Rollins should be healed by then. And then maybe we'll move on to because Seth Rollins first got to fight Bronson Reed, who gave him the tsunami. So I don't know what Punk gonna do after that. So maybe he'll fight Karrion Kross or something. But I said, but kudos to the Charles Montgomery Punk, Chick Magnet Punk, and we'll see what happens with him on Raw, because we're not going to Netflix yet. We're still going to be on USA for a little bit, so we'll see what happens on regular television. The fourth match was the tag team match between the old Judgment Day versus the new Judgment Day. The new Judgment Day versus the Terror Twins. These two ran from them, the entire time. Like the build up to this was them running. The whole fight was about them running. And then, even like when the bell started, they were still running. So, so it was just, but it was typical because like towards the end, the entire Judgment Day got involved. Like Finn Balor, JD McDonough and Carlito, they got involved, but it didn't work. And due to a riptide onto Liv Morgan, the Terror Twins were able to capture the victory here, which is pretty interesting because they haven't been able to beat these people in singles competition, but in tag team competition, they were actually able to get a win. So now that we're going off into, like singles, because now that they've beaten them as a tag team, I mean, there's no real need for Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley to still be together per se, so unless they're like in each other's corner. So Rhea's probably going to try to move on to the women's title, which she shouldn't. Like, if Rhea Ripley, like, I understand that they got the tag team victory, and I understand she pinned the women's champion, but Rhea Ripley should not be fighting for the women's title. She needs to fight somebody else and earn, like, the number one contender spot before she can move on. Unfortunately, they don't really have anybody on Raw for her to do that with, but that's what, I mean, fight Sonya Deville for Christ's sake, but she needs to fight somebody in order for her to actually earn that shot. But even if she does, like, Liv's still going to hold it. Like, I don't, like, Liv's title reign kind of just started, so, like, they're not going to yank the belt off her just yet. She's still got a little ways to go. The new Judgment Day still got a little ways to go, so we'll see what happens on Monday Night Raw. And then finally, the main event of the night, it was Herr Gunther versus Randy Orton. And, Ludwig Kaiser came out. He gave Samantha Irvin the hand. And then he's like, ladies and gentlemen, the ring, Gunther. He did the introduction for him. So that was cool. Like they were in Germany, so it makes perfect sense for that to happen. And the match was it's crazy because like Randy Orton looks bigger than Gunther. I remember when Gunther was actually like a big boy. He was like a fat, pudgy kid. And it's like, he got in the gym. He lost all the weight. He looks like $1 million now. But I'm like, for the love of God, it's like now you look smaller than Randy. He's like shorter than Orton and he's like thinner than Orton. So they were doing this spot where he kept trying to power bomb him. And every time he tried to power bomb him, it wasn't working. And Michael Cole kept saying like, oh, because his arm is injured, he can't get him up for the power bomb. I'm like, no, Orton just weighs a lot more than Gunther at this point. But, he power bombed him eventually and then he got the RKO. But I mean, like in the end, like towards the end, like obviously they kicked out of the RKO. Gunther got the sleeper hold on him. Orton tried to fight out of it. And then he actually fought out of it. And then Gunther popped up and put the sleeper hold back on him. And then, eventually Randy Orton just, he passed out and then Gunther won the match. So that was actually cool. And then at the end of the match, Gunther and Orton actually shook hands. Like he extended the hand and then Orton shook his hand. And then, Orton just left and then, he saluted him. And I was like, oh. It's hard to root against Gunther. Like, because it's like he wins it's like, although he's a heel, he wins all of his matches straight up. He doesn't cheat. There is no interference. And then he like shows the hand of respect to his opponent who he just embarrassed and humiliated. It's like, Jesus Christ, this man's already the GOAT. But but that's it. But it was a good pay-per-view. It was only 5 matches, so there wasn't much to say. It was a good solid show. We did get one title change. So and that was the obvious one, but there was a part of me that honestly felt like Alba and Isla were actually going to retain that. But I'm looking forward to the next one. I believe it's the Bad Blood or like the Angry Blood pay-per-view or whatever we're calling it. But that's happening in September because it's August 31st, so we're officially in September now. So check out my other reviews and thank you for tuning in. So I have New York Fashion Week coming up. I have my video for Anime NYC up on my YouTube channel. I still have my videos for New York Swim Week up on my YouTube channel. September 14th, I'm going to New York Fashion Week, so keep an eye out for my videos for that as well. And if that's the same weekend as the Bad Blood pay-per-view, we'll be doing the wrestling pay-per-view and we'll be doing Fashion Week all on the same day. So that was it, guys. So thank you for tuning in as always. Click the notification bell, like and or subscribe to my YouTube channel for some more wrestling action. I'll be back for NXT No Mercy. And until then, take care, and we're off this. See ya!